Hello, good day everyone. This is Big Grant. We are sitting here in the beautiful sea coastal town of Betty's Bay, situated between the mountains and the seashores of the Overberg. What a beautiful area and place filled with friendship and lovely food to nurture that actual friendship that we've developed. This week we visit a popular Malay curry dish consisting of lamb and chickpeas. Now this spicy recipe has been in my family for years and generations, passed down from my great-grandmother to my gran, to my mom, and then I've adopted the recipe as a young child. I've worked with the recipe over the years and I've modified it slightly, and I've given it a Big Grant twist. This is a spicy dish which has been around forever. Previously, the simple translation of the dish was Lamb and Chic Pea Curry. I've added some of my own ingredients and I've transformed the dish and called it Big Grant's Spicy Lamb Chick. Alright everybody, so these are the ingredients I'm going to be using for this dish that I'm going to be preparing today. Okay, so we have our dry spice consisting of stick cinnamon, cardamom pods, bay leaves, star aniseed, and some peppercorns. Then we'll be using extra virgin olive oil. And then also I've bought 1 kg of lamb from our local butcher. Been seasoning, marinating whole night in plain yogurt with some spice. So the length of time for marinating should be about 24 hours. And then we have some garlic, ginger, and our dry spices here as well. So we've got mother-in-law spice, curry powder, cumin, and some leaf masala. And then I'm going to be using some onion. Normal onion will do. Yellow pepper, green pepper, and some baby tomatoes. These ones are kind of sweet, so they are ideal for this dish I'm preparing. And then I'm going to be using some chili, fresh garden chilies, pickled in some white vinegar. And then I've also got some tomato puree, which I'll be using. And then I'll be using some chickpeas as well, fresh chickpeas. And then we've got some coriander powder here as well that we'll be using for the dish. All right, and then soaking in the water for the last hour is the fragrant basmati rice, which will be an awesome side dish for this meal that I'm preparing now. All right. So now we're going to start with the foundation of the pot basically. So I'm going to chop up some onion. Then I'm going to do the green pepper, tomato, and that will basically be the foundation. And I'm going to add some chili in here as well. Alright. So all you want to do is you don't want to chop your onion too fine. You want to actually just have it a bit coarse. Because this onion will actually cook away in the pot as well. It's just to actually give you that flavor. Yeah. We add some green pepper to it. Also, you don't need to go super fine with this green pepper. You can just have it nice and rough. This really will just try and make the pot a bit sweeter as well. Take away all the acidy flavors of the tomato, which is going to be part of the base. Yeah, some yellow pepper. So I have you don't need to use all of them, just a quarter of it. Yeah, so this will just be a nice addition to the complement the flavors. It will all combine and mix together. All you want to do with these tomatoes, you just want to basically halve them. That's it. That's it. Because the lamb will cook for about an hour, and by that time all of this ingredients will be absorbed into the meat, and then you will have all the flavors combined in the sauce. Alright, then finally I want to chop up some chili. As I said previously, this is some fresh garden chili that came out of my dad's garden. And then basically, you know, you need to determine how hot you want it, how hot you want the spot to be, you know. Me and my mates, we like a bit of spice, so I think we can do a little bit of heat in here. And this chili, same story, you don't need to go super fine. And I'm leaving the pits in because that's basically what you want the spice. Yeah, and we don't have a problem of heat in South Africa. We like hot food here in Cape Town. Yeah, alrighty. So that's basically that. So now what we want to do is we want to heat up the oil slightly, and then we're going to add the ingredients. I just want to get to the stove with the oil. Always better to cook with gas. It's much faster. And also, I just want to add a good dollop of olive oil in the pot. And that's it. Just allow that to heat up, and then we'll add in the other ingredients. Alright, so now we've heated up our oil so that it's nice and warm, ready for the onion. So I'm going to start by adding the onion in the pot. Remember, you don't want to brown your onions, you want to just make it translucent, you know. I need to. So the other important thing I want to mention is just with the dry spice. It's important to add this with the onion. That will just bring out the flavor of the spice, you know. So you're basically going to fry your dry spice with your onion. Also, you can leave your stove on medium heat. That should be quite ample to get the required heat results. That's it, and this one can go for about 3 to 4 minutes. And then I'll add in the rest of the green pepper, and then I'll add in the chili and the tomato. So now I'm going to add in the green pepper. Once the onion has taken some heat, the green pepper then just complements it and just does its thing together. And also you can add in your chili as well. So now we've added our onion, we've added our green pepper, chili, and our dry ingredients. So it's important that these things simmer together. And then I add my tomato in last, because with the tomato it becomes quite soggy quite soon, but you want these ingredients to be translucent before you add your tomato. So these boys can go like this. So before adding the tomato, I want to add my garlic and my ginger. It's important to roast your garlic with your onion as well, because this will just bring out the flavors of the garlic. Remember, fresh garlic is the best, eh? Sometimes you'll find garlic in stores that's not pure garlic. I mean, those ready-made tubs, they mix with turnip and all sorts of other things to get the volume up. I just want to add my ginger now. Now the important thing with this is once you add the garlic and ginger, you need to constantly stir, because if your garlic burns, your whole pot is ruined. It becomes extremely bitter and yeah, it's just a mess actually. So these boys can go for a couple of minutes. So yeah, just give it constantly stir, stir, stir. The garlic can burn quite quickly. That's usually the case if you don't pay attention to it. Alright, so now this guys have been simmering now. The onions are nicely translucent. Yeah, so you don't actually want to cook it away, because you know you want this flavors to pull into your meat. Alright, so now I'm going to add the tomato. Stir them in nicely. Okay, so we just keep it covered so that the moisture stays inside, doesn't cook dry. Alright, so while that's happening over there, I'm now going to combine my spices, because I'm going to make it into a paste, into a sauce, and then I'm going to add it to the ingredients in the pot. So I'll just do it like this. So that's my mother-in-law spice. That's my leaf masala, curry powder, add in some cumin, just a dash of peri peri with the heat. That's it. And then I just want to combine them. Also, you know what, depends on your taste buds. You know, if you want it hot, you can add more spice. If you want it just flavorsome, you can add less spice. And yeah, the chili is actually the one that will give you the heat. Spice will just add flavor, but the chili will give you the heat. So now I'm just going to mix this with some water. So I'll just do it like this. I'm really just going to mix it through. So this is a different method of combining your spices. Some people prefer adding the dry spice into the pot. I prefer combining it with water, so that I can have a layer foundation for this to actually marinate while it's cooking as well, the meat itself. Alright, so now we need to add this into the pot. There we go. This this is a base of your pot to basically just get to a nice space where it's boiling, so that the flavors can be released before adding in your meat. Because you want this really to go into the meat, to absorb, the meat must absorb the sauce. A spicy, pungent cooking sauce, to which I'll add the lamb in a couple of minutes. And then this sauce will basically, the lamb will absorb the sauce, and these flavors will all go into the meat. Alright, so now we've got our onions, we've got our sauce, cooking sauce that I created, going in the pot now. So that's cool. The next step would be to add the meat to that sauce so that it can pull through. And this meat, the lamb, The lamb will basically cook for 45 minutes to an hour. And then we obviously need to check it out, and yeah, about an hour. And then we will start simmering and then adding our chickpeas at the end with our tomato puree. Alright, so now we've got our cooking sauce that's busy going on the pot right there. That's an absolute spicy sauce. The next step would be to add our lamb. The lamb, obviously, as I said, has been marinating for the past 24 hours, so the meat should be nice and tender already. I'm going to add this to the cooking sauce, and then it should go for about an hour. By that time, the lamb should be fine and ready. And then I'm going to add my tomato paste, or puree, to the pot. And then finally, we're going to do the chickpea, which is going to be our add-on ingredient to this pot as well. And then I'll just add the rice. I'll cook some rice on a separate pot, which will be the side dish for this meal. Alright, so the important thing with the cooking sauce is, rather have too much cooking sauce. You can always reduce it later when there's too much. Instead of adding water to your pot constantly. The water actually just dilutes your whole flavor system, and yeah, it makes it a bit weak, eh? Alright, so now I'm going to add the lamb to the sauce. Because as you can see, the sauce is ready. It's cooking, it's ready. It's just waiting for you to add in the meat. That's our lamb that I'm adding. Also the yogurt marinade will give it a nice creamy type texture when you serve it. There we go. With this cooking sauce, you can add any meat to it. Doesn't necessarily have to be lamb. So chicken will do, beef will do, even fish. However, with fish, it's much less cooking time. Alright, so now I just want to stir them all together. So it's really important that this meat just simmers in the sauce. There we go. Also, once again, actually you can reduce your heat to this pot now. Give it a bit of a slower heat. Remember, the slower you cook meat, the more tender it becomes, eh? That's it. So I just added the meat, so now I want to add some salt. It's important that the salt pulls and absorbs into the meat while it's cooking, eh? So salt to taste. I'll give it a taste later on. There we go. Also, you don't want to throw in too much salt, because remember, the guys that's going to be eating with you, they can add salt onto their plate as well. We all have different tastes when it comes to salt. And now, this guy can cook for at least 20 minutes before I check up on it again. Make sure there's enough water, enough sauce going here. Alrighty, let's see what's happening in the pot there. Yeah. Okay, so this lamb has been cooking for approximately an hour now. The meat is nice and soft and tender. Everything has absorbed. Sauces are all inside of the meat. Alright, so the lamb has been cooking for more than an hour now. And now I'm going to add in the chickpeas and the tomato puree. Alright, so this is the tomato puree. This will give the pot some color, some nice tomato taste. We'll break it down with some sugar later on, just to take the acid out of it. We just want to stir this in. It's quite saucy at the moment, but what you will see is that the chickpeas will absorb most of the sauce, and they will have absolutely good texture. So there we go. Chickpeas. It's an absolute wholesome meal for such a cold and rainy day. Alrighty, and what I have here as well is some fresh coriander, which I will use for seasoning once the meal has been cooked and everything is ready to serve. So I just want to give this guys a nice chop. Chopping your coriander really just releases all those flavors. And you can smell it as well. Nice and fresh. There we go. So before serving the meal, I would add this coriander just to give it a bit of a herby flavor. Alrighty, so while the meat is simmering there, the chickpeas is in. Probably within the next 15 minutes, the meal will be ready. So now I'm just going to do the rice. So I'll just chuck that out in the pot. Alright, remember cold water, because this is basmati rice, so it cooks quite quickly. So I'll just do it like this. Make sure the rice is covered with the water. There we go. Just want to get some salt to taste. So this I'm just going to put on a high temperature. You can see the marinade, the yogurt that the meat was marinated in, actually gave it a nice creamy sort of texture, which will be quite nice. So the chickpeas also help to thicken up the and reduce the sauce in the pot, and the sauce will be awesome over the rice. Yeah, awesome texture. So because I added tomato as the base for this pot, I'm going to add in a bit of sugar just to break down the acidity. Just going to throw in a couple of spoons so that we get a nice balance in taste. There we go. Remember, sugar to taste as well, eh? Then I just want to give it a nice stir to ensure the sugar mixes nicely. And remember, at this point, you know, your plate is on the lowest heat possible. If you don't have it on the lowest heat and the temperature is too high, you could burn the bottom of the pot, eh? So just keep it on a slow temperature. Just needs to simmer slightly. So remember, coriander can be used on various methods. So you can dish up and have it as a garnish, or you can add it to the pot. So I'm going to do both. I'm going to leave some as a garnish, and I'm going to add probably half of this into the pot. Alright, so this has been chopped. All the flavors are out. And I'm just going to do that. Just going to do that. So I'll just leave some coriander. For the guys who wants the more pungent flavor of coriander, they can have it as a garnish on their plate when I do the plating later on. And just give it a nice stir so that the coriander fuses with a there we go. So this is practically done. Slow heat, extremely slow heat, just simmering. And while we're waiting for the rice, because this rice cooks that rapid, you just need to constantly stir it. And when it boils, you're gonna have to take some rice and test it, see the texture, if it's soft enough. And that's basically it. Awesome. Now I'm going to strain the rice and I'm going to give it a steam. Alright. So you just use a normal rice colander. You really just want to get all the water, excess water, off the rice. Like that. And all you want to basically do is just get all the starch out of it. Right, and now we're going to steam it. I'm going to put a quarter pot of water in here. There we go. So all we basically want to do is steam the rice just to get any moisture completely out of it. So we really just want to bring this to a boil with the rice on top in the strainer. There we go. So when it starts boiling, I'll give the rice a nice stir, and then we're ready to rock and roll. Just taste to see if everything is fine. Fantastic. Sweet and sour lamb, nice and spicy. Within the next 15 minutes, when the rice is completely steamed, you'll then be ready to dish up. So the process is quite simple, you know. You just cook your rice, you steam it, and when you steam it, all the moisture disappears and it becomes completely fluffy and lovely stuff, eh? That's how we go. Well, I hope you enjoyed cooking this dish. Just remember, we have different tolerance levels of spices. So the more hot spice you add, the hotter the dish will be. The less you add, the milder the dish will be.